Hello there, this is Brenda Knoll, and this class is called Paint with Me Abstract Florals and Gouache Roses. This class is the second of 3 classes in the Paint with Me Abstract Florals and Gouache collection. The first class was the echinaceas, and the third class will be these daisies. Gouache is like watercolor with white or chalk added to it. The result is that the watercolor is mostly opaque with larger and denser pigments, and the binder with a slightly different binder formula results in a more vibrant color payoff with a matte finish rather than a watercolor-like transparent finish. I like gouache because for me it bridges the gap between watercolor and acrylic. I painted in acrylic for 20 years, so when I discovered watercolor, I was in love with watercolors. I love its wildness, its translucent qualities, but I found it challenging because I had to approach my art in a specific manner. Specifically preserving highlights from the beginning and working light to dark. I have a very loose and see where it goes flow, so having to think that through at the beginning of a painting is a challenge for me. Waiting for things to dry completely, etc. The challenges are definitely worth it with watercolor. I love watercolor. But with acrylic, my painting approach was composition, midtones, highlights, shadows, details. If I needed to change a color, the background, or brighten a highlight, no problem. Not so with watercolors, but entirely possible with gouache. With gouache, techniques that I used in acrylic transfer pretty well. So with these specific abstract floral paintings I had in mind that are based upon specific color combinations and multiple layers upon layers of colors, giving the painting dimension and excitement, I felt that gouache would be a great choice to explore some paint with me classes. Why not use acrylic, you might ask? Well, one benefit that gouache has over acrylic, for me, is an open blend time. With gouache, your underlayers are easily activated, which does pose some challenges, but those are easily overcome. The other benefit to me of painting in gouache rather than acrylic is the setup and cleanup involved. When I paint in acrylic, I use a stay wet palette with acrylic because it's the least wasteful of my paint. So that takes quite a bit of time to set up. Also, if I don't get back to my painting for weeks, my paint gets moldy. I ruin brushes because I don't have time to thoroughly clean them after each use, or I'm too lazy, or I'm tired, I just leave them in the water. With watercolor, the paint's dry, they're good to go for the next time. The paint's never going to ruin my brushes. I still paint in acrylic, but it's never the grab your palette and your sketchbook and run out the door that I enjoy with watercolor. Gouache is harder on your brushes than watercolor, but it's never going to ruin a brush like acrylic, which is basically glue after it dries. Most importantly, gouache retains the wildness that I enjoy about watercolor. In the end, it is a water medium. Hydrology is a science about the study of how water flows, and I love water. There's just something about watercolor that resonates joy in my soul. I just love it. If you would like to explore gouache and paint this abstract floral roses composition with me, then I would be super excited to have you in the next module, and I thank you for taking my class.